So, the exciting stuff that I've been doing for myself and for you lately is crafting my own modality of energy healing and spiritual awakening. Whoa. I know this sounds like a tall order, and it is, but essentially it's what I've been doing for the past 20 years or so. I think it's what I'm meant to do, you know? Uh, the only way that I'm able to do this or that I have been able to do this is by fully delving into the energy work that I've been doing for the past 20 years, the spiritual practices that I've been doing, and by looking at systematically what has worked for me and what I constantly come back to. That's really what I want to talk about. This is not going to be a full expose on the modality of Xayún Wahó. This is the patterns that I've seen in my own spiritual journey over the years. Specifically, I notice that throughout the year, assuming that I'm on my shit and, doing everything that I want to be doing, um, there are certain things that throughout the year I always come back to one way or another. Eventually, and I'm starting with the end first, it comes back to unification of all of those things. The reason I'm starting at the end first with unification of all of those things is because the specific energy of Xayún Wahó is the energy of unification. It gets in between the cracks. It fills in the gaps. It acts as a bridge between all the things. All right. So, in some ways, I think that I've sort of been guided by this ancient, powerful energy that was cultivated by Toltec shamans and da, 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 da. You know the story. And if you don't, more will come out soon. Look at the stuff about the Akadawa. I've just decided to rename the energy because I no longer want anything to do with the people who originated that system. All right. There is no system of the Akadawa, though. There was just the energy, and it was named something a la Crowley, sorry, and Thelema and ancient Egyptian tablets. And I don't want anything to do with Crowley either. So I just decided, okay, forget all that. I'm going to name it this. It's my own magical language and my own term, which means most sacred unity. And again, the energy of unification. It does not belong to those people who were bad actors in the past and possibly the present. It belongs to everyone, and it is way more ancient than anybody realizes at this point. Um, so because it is the energy of unification, I think that I have been somewhat guided by that energy through my spiritual path to unify all the things together. If you watch my videos for a while, you'll often hear me talk about mantra work and intention work. And when you're doing something like reciting a mantra, which has a certain intention behind it, you can't just emptily, you just can't, yeah, emptily, I think that's a word, recite a mantra with no intention behind it. You have to tune in to what it means, otherwise, it's completely worthless. You can't just repeat something ad nauseum and expect to get a result. At least that's the way that I've experienced it. And when you do intend, you don't need the mantra to intend. You don't need the intention. Well, you do need the intention for the mantra. Sorry, I almost contradicted myself there. Um, you don't need the mantra to intend, obviously, but it also acts as a vehicle for the intention to become more powerful and to work out into the physical world, into reality. Eventually, they become one thing. That is the unification of the spoken word, the mantra, and the intention behind the mantra. Eventually, they become so much one thing that there's no longer a mantra and there's no longer an intention. It is just a, sorry, it's a little difficult to describe, but you understand what I'm getting at. That is what I have noticed throughout my spiritual path over the years. I will start with ritual, usually. Now I'm talking about the patterns in my life. Usually, let's just say that I haven't been practicing anything for a really long time. and I want to get back on it. Okay, I usually start with the physical things. I need an altar space. I just do. You know, I gotta have a power spot somewhere to do my thing. All right. Then it usually comes to sacred symbols and things like that. I make talismans. You can see them behind me and over here and over there. It's just something that I put my energy into. It reminds me, okay, this is sacred space. It has a specific purpose, a specific intention. Um, and that's usually where I start. The other thing with the ritual is I need a specific set of things to do when I sit down to practice because I've been lazy, I've been distracted, whatever. So then I start with a specific ritual. I light the incense, I do the things, I create the talisman or burn the talisman, I say the mantra, and I get into my other work that way. And then after a while doing that, it starts to sort of collapse in on itself and it just becomes okay, doing the thing, doesn't really feel like anything's happening anymore. And then it gets to the more internal work, the more the more NaeonA aspect of my practice, which is working with the specific energies. So you use the mantras, you use the talismans and all of these external implements and tools or whatever to get you to a certain place. Then once you're in that place, then you start doing this more serious internal or slightly external. It crosses over energy work. For me, it's always energy work. And then after a while, that starts to get a little stale or dry. And you start to crave, I start to crave, I'm talking about myself here. I start to crave more of a connection with something beyond myself again. So it's out here first, external, then it's internal, then it's out again. What are we even doing? Is it just all of these internal energetic juices and things? Or is there something more? Is there something greater? Is there something more divine or spiritual with it? There is. And so that's when I start to connect to something more outside of myself and I start to characterize things as the divine mother and the divine father and the divine child that they create between them. And that's also part and parcel with the modality of Xayún Wahó. I think that it is very important to work with the earth energy, but I also think it is important to work with a sort of characterization of that energy as something more divine. So it starts as just, you know, nitty gritty. This is what the energy is. It's sort of neutral in that sense. We're just working with energies. There's nothing necessarily divine or whatever about it. But then there has to be another characterization, something beyond us that we don't truly understand, a little more mystery to it. And I think that it is important to work with that. And in the modality of Xayún Wahó, I'm doing specific energy work, not just with the energy of the earth or something neutral, but with the energy of the divine mother and the divine father. And the divine child is what I'm calling it, but also it's just the divine human. Then there are the realms associated with those things. So the realm of the lower world in a shamanic sense, which does connect to the realm of the divine mother. These are different things. They're the same thing, but they're different. So you have the energy that you're working with, you have the divine personage that you're working with, like the divine mother or father, and you also have the realm in which they exist. When you connect into the realm, you have a different experience than when you connect to the energy. You have a different experience than when you connect to the personage. All right. But eventually, the point is to bring all of these things together. And eventually, you've cultivated all of these things outside and inside and outside and inside, and then it goes back to the inside, and you are literally pulling in the breath of the mother inside yourself. I think I summed it up pretty nicely in because something just clicked for me, honestly. And that's basically what the modality is about. There's a lot more to it, you know. The specific energy of Xayún Wahó, you have all these different aspects to it. I've also connected those aspects. You've heard me list the aspects myriad times before, and the version that I was given this is the last thing I'll say about this modality, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm going to keep practicing it myself just to see, where it takes me. It is essentially the culmination of everything I've been doing for the past 20 years again. So I'm pretty proud of that. But I also want to present it to people as a viable, workable modality for themselves. You've heard me list the different energy types, different feels and vibes and things that this energy has: obsidian and lunar and solar and blah, 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 blah. Those are just words, they're just poetic descriptions. Fascinatingly enough, if we take the ninefold model of those types of energy, which is, I've always been working with the nine, not the seven, uh, then we have a perfect correlation to the Bagua of Taoism. If you don't know what the Bagua is, look it up. I'm not going to describe the whole thing here. Each of these different combinations of yin and yang, mother, father, negative, positive, black and white, etc., etc., uh, create different types of energy. Those different energies move through us all the time and are part of our creation. They affect us, and they allow or disallow us to move through the world in a certain way. When you have this unified energy, this energy that causes them to be unified, of Xayún Wahó, you can literally manipulate every single one of those energies on or in the Bagua for your own cultivation practice. Now, I'm not saying that you can't pull in the energy of thunder. Okay, so just as an example, real quick, obsidian in Xayún Wahó would be mountain in the Bagua. Okay? It's just a word. It's just a poetic description of what the energy represents. Okay? So, mountain to some people might conjure images of high and tall and cold and all of this stuff. It's just human associations with these different pretty concepts, all right? Obsidian has all these other associations. You might think shiny and black. That's not what we're talking about. We're just giving poetic description to the energy itself. So, Xayún Wahó, obsidian, it's thick and heavy and stable. Mountain in the Bagua, the energy is the energy of stability and just, foundation. It's exactly the same, all right? It doesn't mean it's the same energy itself. Again, Xayún Wahó has been cultivated as a sort of unified field of energy for thousands of years, and so it is its own thing. But it also plays with and represents and mingles and collides with the energies of the universe, which are the energies of the Bagua. All right, so that's what I wanted to put out there for you guys, and I hope that you find it interesting, and I hope that you want to learn it with me. All right, so this is also NaeonA shorts that are not so short, because shorts are an illusion.